All right, what is up, guys? James Baek here today, and we have a very special guest on this channel today. Introduce yourself, friend.
Hi guys, I'm Eduardo Cunha, also known as EmbC, and it's a pleasure to be here with you.
This
Yeah.
guy. This guy.
Yeah. So yeah, I just recently got top 40 worlds. Got real lucky, I guess, and I'm here to show you the squad that I managed to use so successfully.
All right, so Edu brought a kind of an interesting version of Zerndon. Very interesting version indeed. We see his team right here on the screen. We have Kangaskhan, Thundurus, Groudon, Bronzong, Xerneas, and Hitmontop. He paired Groudon, Xerneas with common Zerndon Pokemon such as Kangaskhan and Bronzong that we see, but then paired it up with some interesting mons which we rarely see in Thundurus and Hitmontop. So Edu, why not talk about how you built this team and your choices of bringing Thundurus and Hitmontop over Pokemon such as Salamence or Smeargle?
Okay, so yeah, it all started actually later than I wished. It was pretty much 1 week before Worlds, week and a half, and I was kind of desperate looking for what to use. Since the team that I was really comfortable with had been having some trouble against Big Six, so I figured that I needed a really solid plan against Big Six, and I was thinking that Safeguard plus Bronzong would be really solid because pretty much I wouldn't need the presence of Smeargle with Crafty Shield, and I could have something with actual offensive pressure on its place to protect Bronzong from Dark Void and its partner as well. So I got the idea from my friend Treycraft. He got top 8 at US Nationals with Safeguard Kangaskhan, and I thought that it would be a good kind of theory to test. I started with Kangaskhan Kangaskhan Bronzong. That was a pretty solid lead because I could just fake out Trick Room, I could safeguard and prevent any kind of damage. It can seem a bit counterproductive because Kangaskhan is very fast and Bronzong setting up Trick Room, but Kangaskhan took a kind of sort of just try and do as much damage as possible before getting KO'd and replaced by Groudon kind of role. So my goal was just to find a way of setting up Safeguard, Trick Room, Gravity, and in a way that I can freely Precipice Blades without having to worry about Dark Void, which is so annoying. Then I figured that if I didn't want to be really weak to Groudon, because Bronzong and Kangaskhan aren't really that good against Groudon, I needed something with Intimidate and Wild Guard. Those two kind of perks are really great against Groudon, especially physical, which seems to be more consistent since it can beat the Groudon, can beat Kyogre and Xerneas, which are big threats to any team pretty much. So I figured that Hitmontop would be amazing paired with my own Groudon, since I could just Wild Guard to protect my Groudon and feint the opposing Wild Guards and Precipice Blades myself. I could also have another Fake Out and give more support to my Xerneas. Something that I always liked is a double Fake Out with Xerneas, something that I've used almost all season, and having, not all season, pretty much the beginning of the season and now. And I also tested it a bit on kind of late season. Yeah, it kind of started May, June. I started using it a lot. And I really like the combo since I can Intimidate with Hitmontop and the Fake Out set up with Xerneas or even sub with Groudon. And then protect the Groudon on Xerneas and bring Kangaskhan in, Fake Out again, just apply pressure. And that's really good, especially against Pokemon that can't really afford to have Protect like Cresselia and Bronzong. And being able to shut down Bronzong and Cresselia with the Xerneas can be really helpful, especially since those two Pokemon are usually techs used against Xerneas. So yeah, I figured that I had a solid plan there. I had a card that I liked, even though it wasn't 100% the best, most reliable card, since I really needed certain conditions to happen. I still liked it because I knew that I had outs for everything. I knew that it was something that I knew how to use, and since I had used Hitmontop before as well, I knew that I would be ready to use it as well as I could. And then I figured that some matchups could be problematic, such as Rayogre and, just Crobat. Crobat, not really, because I had Mantle Orb. But, some stuff was really annoying, because, like, faster Pokemon, if I couldn't set up Trick Room, could be really annoying. And Thundurus really fit the role of speed control there. It helped me against fast Kyogres, doing damage to Kyogre, which is huge. Ryogre is actually my main concern when I use Thundurus, when I brought in Thundurus. It helps me with matchups that don't really involve Groudon, and it was something that I just thought would go well. I started actually at Weavile first, but it was too offensive, and I figured that it wasn't really working, so I just tried Thundurus. It was working well, and I only made compared to other teams that I had, I made way less practice matches with it, and to be honest, I'm happy that I did so, because I was really happy with that car, and since I was happy and I hadn't used it too much, I couldn't get sick of it, which was pretty much what happened to me with my other teams. I used it so much that I couldn't use them anymore, as well as I used to. So I was happy with this concept. I didn't want to spoil it, so I just made a couple games. Not a couple, but 15, 30 games, and I thought I was ready. It was mostly Pokemon that I had been using the whole season. I knew how to use them. Even though they weren't all on the same team at the same time, they were on similar teams. They had roles similar to other Pokemon they had been using. Like Hitmontop can intimidate like Salamence, and White Guard like Smeargle. And even though they're very different Pokemon, I had the components that I knew how to use. So I was feeling confident. I went with it, and I think that that confidence boost really helped me go through some of my matches. So yeah, I think that's what I have to say about the team building process. We could go now more on detail about each Pokemon, about the EVs in specific. I guess Kangaskhan is just a standard EV spread that survives low kick from opposing Kangaskhan Jolly, at least, which is the most important one because the other ones I'll be outspeeding. Thundurus is also spread that my good friend Treycraft gave to me, just really bulky in general. It takes Dazzling Gleams very easily from Xerneas. It survives, I believe it survives Fire Punch from Groudon, but I'm not sure. It survives Double Edge from Kang. It's really solid, very bulky, and something that I really like about Thundurus. It's just being able to stay around, since its main role is to just Thunder Wave, get speed control, get odds on my favor, get a few Thunderbolts if possible, Taunt, and then job is done. So being able to stick around for longer is just an amazing advantage that I have. And then about Groudon, something that I really love about Groudon is the substitute move. It's just something that I always used on my Groudons. I have so many teams on my team builder, and almost all of them I'm substitute on Groudon. It's an amazing tech that I love. It just allows me to set up win conditions on teams. For instance, people kind of have these flow charts against Xerneas teams where they have to lead something and they have backup plans to Groudon, but those backup plans kind of need switches. They for example, you can see Wolf's team, they like to lead Hitmontop and Gengar, but those Pokemon can't really touch Groudon, so they have to bring in Kyogre. So while Kyogre isn't on the field, I'm free to get a sub up and get a Precipice Blades off later, which is really valuable, and I think basically carried me through some of my toughest matchups. My EV spread is pretty simple, as it survives Earth Power from Timid Groudon. I figured that Modest wasn't really too relevant, as it wasn't. I needed a lot more EVs, and I really didn't want to sacrifice more attack, as attack can be really useful against opposing Kyogre and Xerneas. Then I have 36 speed EVs that was pretty much, I wanted to just outspeed Primals. That was all I wanted, and especially Trick Room Primals, not kind of Icy Wind Primals. I just wanted to outspeed Trick Room ones, because if they're slower, I can use my own Trick Room. If not, I can plan the game in a way that I stall out Trick Room because I also have to be afraid of my own Trick Room. So we kind of have that kind of Cold War until Trick Room ends, and I kind of just have my Groudon beating opposing Primals. And it was very valuable against. It could have been even more valuable against teams like Jonathan Evans, where they had really slow Primals. I believe if I had the opportunity to play that team again, I would have. I think my matchup was actually pretty decent due to that speed stat, and it was pretty much a very similar concept to the one Wolf used, but he used even more EVs, and I wasn't really feeling like spending so many EVs on speed. Then we have Bronzong, very standard for big B kind of concepts. The EV spread just allows me to survive pretty much any attack from opposing Groudon, from Eruptions, Earth Powers, Precipice Blades. It proved in conjunction with this EV spread, I pretty much survive anything. And Mental Orb, like since I have Safeguard and I want to beat Crobat, another Pokemon with Taunt, I figured a Mental Orb would be essential for me to be able to beat certain strategies. So I just thought that it would be the better item, and he ended up being, so I'm really happy that I went with it. Then my Xerneas is an EV spread that my good friend Zach Carlson gave to me. It actually, it had some modifications that my friend Treycraft managed to realize would be more efficient. But yeah, the base is in there, the basic concepts. It pretty much takes 2 Precipice Blades from Groudon. So Precipice Blades is a 3-hit KO. Outspeeds Miracle, and still does a lot of damage in general. It's really strong, and I really like this kind of bulky Xerneas because it's not super slow, so I often have the advantage against opposing Xerneas, and it's also still very powerful due to the modest nature, and very bulky as well. And then Hitmontop, the start of the show, kinda is a Hitmontop, was very valuable on most matchups. It helped me a lot against Primals with Wildcard, Fake Out support, Intimidate support. Was just amazing. I love Hitmontop. It's a very similar concept to Scrafty, but instead of the quick card, it has wild card. So instead of trying to beat Thundurus, it's actually there to beat the Primals themselves. Since I have double fake out, I figured that quick card wouldn't be as relevant. I also had safeguard, so I figured that I could just safely protect, and oftentimes I just didn't need to go for the quick card at all. So yeah, the black belt with the EVs allow it to always go very bulkless Kang, and Kangs with a bit of bulk, like the one I have. It pretty much just OKOs, and survives -1 Brave Bird from Life Orb Talonflame.
Wow.
Yeah.
Excellently explained. I actually didn't get much to talk about, but you explained that beautifully.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
No problem, but let me just ask you a few questions about the team since...
Yes,
okay, so your Kangaskhan. Were you satisfied with... I believe this Kangaskhan actually lives most of the time. I believe it's a 6.3% chance for Jolly Kangaskhan to knock out with low kick. Were you satisfied with those rolls? Preferred the EVs in attack instead?
Yes, since I don't have Power Up Punch, I feel like I need the EVs to get advantage. Low kick is not very common, so I felt like it was a good benchmark. I didn't really need to move too many EVs from attack, and since I don't have Power Up Punch, I really needed the investment on attack.
Okay, so you opted for Fake Out, Double Edge, Safeguard, and Sucker Punch, which is an interesting move. No fighting type move or no coverage. You just went for priority in Sucker Punch. How did you feel about this?
Okay, so I've always felt like Sucker Punch, even though I love Power Punch and I won many games thanks to it, I feel like Sucker Punch ends up being way better for a supportive kind of role. Since Kangaskhan isn't there to be the main threat, it's actually it's like a support Pokemon that actually deals damage. I feel like even though I'm a huge supporter of Power Punch, I think Sucker Punch is stronger because it allows me to put Primals under reduce the power of Water Spout and Eruption from the Primal Pokemon, and I think it's more variable often because I tested a lot against the kind of Bronzong Primal score, and I figured that often I would just I wanted to switch out or just have Xerneas and Kangaskhan on the field, but I wanted to reduce the power of opposing the water spout. So I would just Sucker Punch, and I would guarantee to survive the move from Kangaskhan unless I got a critical hit. So I felt like Sucker Punch was way more valuable. It also helped against Sash Pokemon like Rayquaza. It was very, very valuable, and I think I felt like I only missed Power Punch once in like this whole time I've been using this team. I only really felt like I needed Power Punch once, and it was actually I don't know if I ended up winning or not, but I feel like it wasn't really necessary. I just feel like I would have a quicker advantage if I had it. So like yeah, I feel even also I don't need low kick at all because I have close combat on Hitmontop and I have fire and ground moves on Groudon, so steel types aren't that big of a deal. And I feel like yeah, Sucker Punch is just amazing. I guess Bronzong as well, Gengar's, and my top 4 set game 2 against Jonathan Evans. Sucker Punch was key in getting the KO on Gengar, so I felt like Sucker Punch was pretty much a must.
Okay. Next, we have Thundurus. You opted for a more standard support set with Thunder Wave, Taunt, and Protect. Did you ever want like another move like Hidden Power, for instance, maybe Hidden Power Ice?
Yes, Thundurus is one of the more questionable kind of slots on my team. I feel like if I had Grass Knot, honestly, over either one of the moves that is in Thunderbolt and Thunderwave, I feel like I would have had a much better time against primals with special Groudon, because with Grass Knot I managed to actually deal damage to the Groudon, and the problem with Thunder is that it often just can't do anything. It just really can't do anything to opposing Groudon except like prevent a sub or Swords Dance. So with a team with Bronzong, with my own Groudon, with Kang and Xerneas, I often needed strong damage against opposing Groudons. Since I have Hitmontop in my own Groudon, physical ended up not being a problem at all, and since physical is the most common one, I felt like I had a good advantage against Groudons. Also, bulkless special Groudon wasn't that hard to deal with, as I could set up my own Trick Room and be faster with my own Groudon. But then, if he was like a bulky kind of Groudon with special moves, not just Eruption. Eruption isn't too hard to deal on mixed Groudon, but like Earth Power is really tough because I don't have any kind of redirection. And Xerneas, like if the opponent has Gengar and Bronzong, it's really hard for my Xerneas to set up, so I can't really... Like the main counter kind of to special Groudon is having my own Xerneas, but I can't really use Xerneas if they have Gengar and Bronzong, so it's really tough. I had a plan, which pretty much using Trick Room, knowing the speeds. It's all about... It ends up being a lot dependent on speeds, and I have everything. I need everything to go well. It actually happened at Worlds, one of the 3 games that I lost. One of them was against Giovanni Costa, and I had a plan. Like game 1, I got destroyed. I didn't have anything. I didn't have a plan. I just got destroyed. Game 2, I had a plan, but I ended up critting him, giving him a free switch, and I really didn't want to crit him. I didn't want him to get KO'd. I wanted to just get some cheap damage. So I need everything to go perfectly, and if it doesn't, something goes wrong, some X, I'm done. And that was something that I regretted. If I had Grass Knot Thundurus, perhaps, and I would have to go a bit faster then. But if I had a Grass Knot Thundurus, perhaps I would have had a better time. But then again, I tested Grass Knot Thundurus on many teams, and I never felt like it was that good. I just feel like I want something like Thundurus that can damage Groudon, and it's really hard to find something like that. I've been toying around with Aerodactyl, which is something that actually... Funnily enough, it's similar to Thundurus in a way that it resists moves from Salamence, as Wide Guard to support against Kyogre, as Rock Slide, as Tailwind. So it's cool against Kyogre, my kind of problems that I was having by not having Thundurus. But at the same time, Aerodactyl brings other problems, like not being able to do much damage at all. Thunderbolt does do significant damage against Pokemon that don't resist it. Like, at least, like you see, Kyogre just gets good cheap damage that I always have to appreciate. And yeah, I feel like I really need a Pokemon like Thundurus that can touch ground, and it's really hard to find. So yeah, if I was change something, perhaps Grass Knot in somewhere in there. But yeah, answering to your questions, yes, I did miss some moves there.
All right, nice. Now, My next question will be about Groudon and the substitute option. Substitute, we've seen pretty much Swords Dance, Substitute, maybe Rock Slide or Eruption. How do you feel about Substitute compared to the rest of the other options that people give Groudon?
Okay, so like compared to them, I think that substitute. I don't think substitute is better or worse than any of them. It's just it depends. It depends a lot on how you work with your team. Um, like if you like to get in a position where you can just spam P-Blades and nothing resists it, and you're actually good at getting into that position, I think Sword Sense is really strong. I was actually I used Sword Sense Groudon back in like December or something, and I always liked it. But like I feel that substitute is something. It's just a great move in general in VGC, and you can. I don't think you can ever go wrong with substitute, unless of course you don't really know how to use it. But I think substitute is something that like it's safe. It gives you advantage that you don't really have to. Like you don't have many drawbacks from it. You can just go for substitute and you don't really lose much besides like 25% of your health, which in this meta game 25% may not make much of a difference because everything is getting O-code anyway. So I mean I feel like substitute is amazing, but not really better than other choices. I like Eruption because sometimes when you get an advantage, you can capitalize on certain switches by like you show the opponent that you're physical, so maybe they'll intimidate you, and then you just Eruption Salamas before Mega. It just, I mean, it doesn't change much from Mega from the special side, but still, just Eruption and Salamas. Salamas isn't known for its special defense, so you just get a strong damage up. Also, Swords Dance, yeah, as I was saying, I never got to finish. So yeah, Swords Dance gets you some really cool KOs. It's in certain positions, like your opponent just doesn't have switch-ins, and I think that's very valuable. But I think that's more fitting for a team with better Groudon support. My goal wasn't really to make Groudon. I mean, it was to make Groudon sweep, but like it's not like to get it in Trick Room as long as it possibly can, because I will not have Groudon in Trick Room for longer than 2 turns, and if I don't have Groudon for longer than 2 turns, I can't really set up and do damage in Trick Room. So I never really have the opportunity to go for Sword Dance, but I honestly feel like Sword Dance in most teams and in most playstyles it's a better choice. But from my playstyle, I feel like Substitute is the better option.
I mean, Substitute is a great move to have. Groudon's already a Pokemon that basically is very hard in this metagame. Like, you know it's a threat, you have to get rid of it. And basically, you can fiddle around with that. You can keep clicking Protect to draw away attacks, so maybe your other Pokemon can help support it. Did you do that at all at Worlds? Like, you set up Protect and then have people focus on the Groudon?
Yes, actually, yeah, I think you can see something similar going on against my set on stream against Baris, where I could just make a combo of like, it wasn't actually perfectly the situation you're describing, but it's something similar where I can force the focus on Groudon to set up. So like, my opponent had yet switched in Kyogre, and I really needed a situation where I'm in gravity and will able to spread Hypnosis and P-Blades. So what I did, I had protected the previous turn, so on the next turn I just went for sub. And while I went for sub, that allowed my ally, the Bronzong, to start to set up the gravity. And like when you see that play, perhaps you think, oh, he's probably going to use P-Blades, he just used gravity, but like that would be a bit reckless. I needed Bronzong to be in gravity so I could Hypnosis the Kyogre and then spam P-Blades. And that's what I did, and Sub helped me with that. And I think that shows how helpful Substitutes is on that situation. But more on the way you're talking, yeah, Substitutes like is helpful also when Xerneas, for example, is setting up and you have to focus on Xerneas. So I set up my own Sub. There's also another way you can use Substitute to gain a lot of momentum. Yeah, Substitute allows me to bring in supports, it's just like I can keep on protecting my Groudon until I get into the position I want.
Alright, so I think the final question about the team itself would be Hitmontop. Let's see. I see that you mostly went physically defensive with some attack investment, but lacking on the special defensive side. Did you ever find this problematic?
Actually, not really, because when I brought Hitmontop, it ended up being mostly against Zerndon variants, and there aren't really many special attacks that I would be leaving otherwise. Perhaps against like some. I never really faced double prime. I didn't face many double primal teams. The only two I think I only faced two. Not sure, but I lost to the two I faced, and they had Gengar, and I feel like if I had the tools to win, and the tools were on Hitmontop, but I never got to the situation where I needed bulk on Hitmontop. Like I feel like, yeah, I feel like if I were going to play the same team again, I would probably change the Hitmontop spread a bit. Especially to tank some of the primals moves, special moves. I'll definitely tweak that. But you know, like I never got actually into a situation where it was relevant. Perhaps because I didn't face many primals at all. Primals weren't. I won't say primals would be a problem. It's just like I feel like my opponents played better, and that special Groudon on primals is an eye. That's the thing. So yeah, answering more to your question, I think that even though it never came down to it, it's something that maybe I regret is I mean I don't regret because it went perfectly, but if I was going to use it again, I would tweak the special defense there.
Okay, so now I want to ask you about variants, like opposing variants of, let's say, the popular cores. We talked about Ray Ogre, you talked about how you deal against Big Six and Dual Primal, but what about the other variants that you were expecting, like maybe Yveltal variants, Dialga? What do you think about those and the matchup you have with your team?
Okay, so I think that doing, like, when I didn't see Xerneas, I'd pretty much just automatically think I can just Hitmontop Xerneas and gang the guy. Just kind of the verb I just made up. It's just I can go with double fake out Xerneas, and it's really hard for teams without Xerneas to stop that, because if they have Xerneas, I really can't be switching around because I'll be KO'd. But against other teams, I can just switch around, intimidate, fake out, protect, mind game the protect, and perhaps not even protect, just attack, and like the momentum will be on my side, and that's especially good against like Yveltal, because you know Yveltal can't really OHKO with Hitmontop or Kang, so I can just protect, bring them in, fake out, and so yeah, I think there are some variants that could give me some trouble, like Crobat, but then I have Thundurus, so I have outs to most things. I can even go with my Bronzong if I predict them not to go with Yveltal lead. So it's solid. Yeah, so Dialga is also not too hard, as I have my Groudon and Xerneas, and they both deal pretty well with Dialga. I don't think people would like to bring Dialga against me anyway. I did face a Dialga team on round 3 of day 1, and I just swept with Xerneas because, you know, if I was just juggling around the Hitmontop and Kang combo, fake out, just double fake out, and it worked perfectly. And I think that's with that combo, I feel like I had a good matchup against pretty much anything. X-Ray was, Bronzong is key there. Having Bronzong, I have my own Xerneas. I could just it's in best of 3. I could go with one mode and then the other. I think the team is like, it can, the X-Ray teams can have answers to each combo, but I feel like I have the advantage against X-Ray, because Bronzong is tough for both Xerneas and Rayquaza, and Xerneas is also not that easy. So if I predict the red card well and the roars, I have the advantage, and Thundurus helps a lot as well.
Okay, so do you think this team could do well in the post VGC 16 metagame?
Okay, so the fact that I think that when I was going into World, actually, something that I forgot to mention is that I always thought that Thundurus would be an amazing call, because every time I was using Thundurus, I felt like every team was weak to it. like the only thing they had against Thunderus was Groudon. If I got rid of Groudon, Thunderus would be in an amazing spot. So I felt like Thunderus was an amazing call, and for that I think that it can still be a good call, because like against teams like Wolves, it all comes down to team preview mind games, in my opinion. Not really, it's not all coming down to it, but if you win the team preview mind game, you'll have an amazing advantage. And the mind game is pretty much if they bring the Raichu mode or the Bronzong mode, because like okay, so they have to bring Gengar, they also have to bring Kyogre. And then they can choose. Do they go with a kind of flowchart idea of going Hitmontop, Gengar with Kyogre Bronzong in the back? If they do that, they're super weak to sub Groudon, and you can see that working against Marcus, where if I play Groudon well, I have the advantage. I have Hitmontop with Wild Guard as well to stop his Kyogre, and as soon as I get rid of the Kyogre, I can just sweep the Groudon. Thundurus is amazing against all of those. Thundurus just taunts the Bronzong, taunts and Thunder Waves the Gengar, taunts the Hitmontop and Thunderbolts the Kyogre, so Thunder is amazing against those four. And if he brings in Raichu, then he can't bring either Bronzong or Hitmontop. Well, if he doesn't bring Hitmontop, my Groudon just even better than he was before. If he doesn't bring Bronzong, well, perhaps Xerneas could have a shot. So if I win that mind game in team preview, I'm on a huge advantage, and for that reason I think the team is strong, as long as you understand that how important the mind game is and what the mind game is even. So if you're aware of that, I think it's a strong call. I think some things should be tweaked because like the team is strong, but I see some weaknesses that I think people should be more careful, as they could become more common. Something that I always find annoying is the Groudon weakness. I think physical Groudon is becoming more and more common now, because special Groudon doesn't deal well with Wolf's team, and Wolf's team will be everywhere. So, and counters Wolf's team. Like Wolf doesn't really like well-played Kyogre, so maybe people will use Kyogre. If they use Kyogre, they don't really want to use special Groudon. So I think people will use more and more Groudon, which means that my team is even better, because I don't have to face special Groudon, and you have it on top to stop the physical Groudon. So amazing. So yeah, overall I think it's a good call. Maybe tweak a few things, try and fit the Grass Knot there on Thundurus, and I think it's definitely a good call for post-Worlds meta. I don't know if I'm using it much at all. Honestly, I have no idea. No, I think I have an idea that I'm not, but I'm not sure yet. It's a really strong team that I like, and a lot of my style. A lot of my style is on it, so I really like it. Even though that I didn't play as much with it as perhaps I would have wanted, but I love the team, and it's I think it's a good call if you know how to use it, and you're aware of the leads kind of combination that I talked about here.
All right, thank you so much for those wise words. Wait, do you have a YouTube channel? I forgot.
Oh yeah, I have a YouTube channel that pretty much has stream archives from NPA. But I'm probably going to start a YouTube channel soon. This is a project that my uncle and myself are thinking on, and probably go and start it in the next few months. So yeah, I do have it. I believe it's well, I don't know how it goes actually, which name it shows up. I think it should be EmbC. Yeah, it just should be like straight up EmbC.
Well, I'll link it down in the description down below. So if you guys want to see the semi-finalist from the World Championship in action, definitely go subscribe. His channel link will be in the description down below. You can also follow him on Twitter as well. And Edu's gonna make a blog report about his team, I believe. And
yes.
Maybe it's a war story, I think, right?
Yes, war story, yes.
So I'll link that down below once that comes out. But anyway, thank you so much for being on, Edu. Any last words, any shout outs you want to give?
Oh, yes. First of all, huge shout out to my good friend, James Baek, for having me here. It was always amazing to have someone to talk to about my team, and especially someone who's actually so friendly. It's such a great friend, and yeah, I'm really I swear he didn't make me say this, but yeah, he's amazing, and I'm really thankful that he gave me this opportunity to talk here. I also have huge shout outs to first of all, my mom. If it wasn't for my mom, I wouldn't be anywhere. The money from the trip came from the the savings that she made for me, like my whole life. And she told me it was my dream, that I had to follow it. And I really didn't want to spend the money like that, but she told me it was my dream and that I should. And she convinced me into going to Worlds, and I have to thank her a lot for that. Obviously, to Claudio Serpa, I always have to shout him out for organizing the tournaments in Portugal, and every single one of my friends, the Spirits as well. Hashtag No Spirit Left Behind. And to my World Cup team, to my Spanish clan Rainwrath, and to everyone who supported me. You guys, everyone is amazing. Like I so many people, I can't really mention everyone, but I'm so happy that I have so many people to support me, and it's amazing. So thank you all, and yeah, once again, thank you all. Thank you, James, and thank you guys for watching.
Alright, I'll see you guys around in another video, and Edu might be joining me for some more content in the future.
Yes.
If you guys want to see that, definitely hit that like button to show your support for Edu, as well as leave me a comment down below. What you think about the team as well, what changes you would make, and also the fact of what kind of content do you guys want us to do. And definitely when Edu starts a YouTube channel, I'll definitely be helping him out. So yeah, check out his stuff down below, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye, guys.